I'm your host, Jason Tartick, and welcome to Trading Secrets. We talk all things money on this podcast, and we're teaching all the stuff we just weren't taught in the classroom. Nothing supports this show more than liking, commenting, and of course, subscribing. Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today, we are joined by Buffalo native, Mamaroneck High School grad, Buffalo State alumni, former accountant turned workers' comp auditing manager, the Bachelorette season 14 hometown star, my mother, aka Mama Caluch, Dale Tartick. Mom, this is the 200th episode of Trading Secrets, tens of millions of downloads later, and it is an honor to share this special episode with you. Thank you so much for being on Trading Secrets.
Thank you, my dear. It's an honor to be with you.
We had Steven last episode. What'd you think of his episode?
I thought he did an excellent job.
Yeah?
I was very proud of him, and I was proud of you as well.
Yeah, it was good. Are you feeling a little nervous?
I'm very nervous.
I love it. Little anxiety from Mom here today. All right, so let's do this. We're going to do a rundown. We're going to start with before you, what the careers of the people in your family looked like. So we have Grammy, that is Marcia Ivers. We have Grandpa Lenny, who is no longer with us, R.I.P. Grandpa Lenny, Leonard Gross. Let's go to Lenny's father. So that was my great-grandpa, Dave. What did he do for work?
So he owned a millinery company. He actually sold hats to many women in the 50s, 40s, 50s, even somewhat of the 60s. He sold hats to women because women wore hats all the time.
Like to formal events?
Formal events, going out for the day.
Okay.
Part of what you wore was a nice hat.
So he sold these hats,
He did.
Then I thought he was in costume jewelry at one point.
So what happened was, what was very interesting, he always said that the Pope hurt his business.
The Pope did?
The Pope.
Coming from the good old Jewish man?
That's right. Because once the Pope decided that women didn't have to wear hats to church, his business just plummeted. And so he pivoted and decided to sell costume jewelry.
So it was first hats, then costume jewelry.
Yes,
Okay.
and he owned 18 stores.
Wow.
And when he decided to retire, he sold his business to Claire's Boutique, which is still in malls to this day.
So Grandpa Dave sold his costume jewelry business to Claire's, the little place in the mall that does the free ear piercings and has all the little...
Right, yes.
Really? I did not know that. Do you know how much he sold it for?
No, I don't.
Do you
I wish
have
I did know.
Any idea at all?
I do not know.
Grandpa Dave, was he wealthy?
I would say he was well off.
His wife didn't work, right?
No.
Okay. What was she like?
She was the matriarch of the family.
Okay.
She was the queen.
She was like the boss.
She was the boss. She was the queen.
Okay.
She made the decisions. She carried herself with class and dignity at all times, dressed to the hilt, and, had her perch.
Yeah, I remember even because she passed away at what age?
I think she was like 81 when she retired.
Okay.
Passed.
And Grandpa Dave he was a wild man.
95.
He was dancing. He was always dressed well.
Partier.
Even, he was going on, I feel like until 95, the day before he died, he was going on 3 dates, I feel like.
At our wedding, he had a bottle of Jack.
Yeah.
And all my friends were in a circle, and he was just giving the bottle to everybody to take a shot.
He was the party animal.
He was.
All right. R.I.P. Grandpa Dave. Let's go to Grandpa Lenny. Grandpa Lenny, for work, I've talked about on the podcast.
He was an endodontist.
Endodontist, oral surgeon, and also a professor, right?
Yes.
Anything else? I didn't know that Grandpa Dave sold his business to Claire's Boutique. Anything else from an income perspective or career perspective that Grandpa Lenny did that I might not know?
He did a lot of investing on his own.
Yeah.
He was with a financial advisor.
Yeah.
He decided that he could do a better job than the financial advisor did.
Yeah.
And he did all his investing on his own. And he also advised us for decades on what to do with our finances.
Interesting. He also told me about the story of the financial advisor taking advantage of him, who's still in prison today. So that was a story that was passed on down. Let's quickly go to Grammy. Marcia Ivers,
Marcia
legend,
Ivers,
still
the
living
Queen
strong,
Bee.
Queen Bee boss.
That's
what
right.
did her parents do for work?
So her parents owned a children's clothing shop in White Plains, New York.
Okay.
And they worked very hard.
Okay.
Every day went to that shop and sold what they could and walked back home.
Entrepreneurs too.
Yes, they were.
Okay, and Grammy, for her career and profession, what are some things she did?
Grammy went to school to be a teacher. She was a nursery school teacher. She decided to get her master's in gerontology.
Okay.
Decided at that point, maybe a decade later, to open up her own home healthcare agency.
Wow.
Strong woman, independent woman, taught us all our morals and values, and basically told us we could do whatever we want.
Wow, she was strong, still is.
Yes.
Extremely strong, very passionate about her
Yes.
beliefs, and has done an unbelievable job raising you and your sister.
Yes, she has.
And doing her thing. Marcia, shout out to you. We love you. All right. We're going to get into all the things that people want to know. They want to know, of course, about my childhood, but also, most importantly, they want to know about your take on reality TV, your take on the hometowns, your take life after, some of the breakups and in between from a mother's perspective. Those hard-hitting questions we're going to get into. But a couple of questions I have for you. How would you describe yourself in high school and in college? What was Dale Tartick like?
Strong-willed, social. I like to party.
What was partying like back then? Like discos?
Oh, discos.
So you would just dance all
In the
night?
polyester dress, New York City, Long Island.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you ever get into trouble as a child? Were you a troublemaker?
No. I was smart enough to
Not get caught?
not get caught.
Okay. I respect that. All right, let's ask you this. If you went back 40 years ago, what would you tell high school Dale Tartick?
Everything is going to be okay.
Okay.
High school was difficult.
Yeah.
My mother was going through some turmoil. We had some turmoil in our family, and the home front was not a calm place. I was trying to find myself, and I think that I would say, don't worry, Dale, you've got this. You're going to be just fine.
Okay.
And I think that as you go on and you achieve small goals, you start becoming self-sufficient, self-reliant. You develop confidence, and then that takes you to your next goal or your next opportunity.
All right. A follow-up question I have for that. Both of your parents got divorced and then remarried and divorced. So as a child, you saw a lot of divorce.
Yes.
You just celebrated your 40th wedding anniversary.
Yes.
So what advice would you have for anyone that's listening to this, that their parents are divorced or they are the parents that have been divorced, in just navigating those waters? But then also, what did you learn from that situation that allowed you to then move forward in a relationship that is healthy and loving and 40 years later celebrating a beautiful anniversary?
Well, I think that I decided early on in life that I was going to look for a partner that had the same moral values, that put family first, that I knew would be there with me for the rest of my life through thick and thin, supporting me and me supporting him. That was very important, to find somebody with character.
Yeah.
I feel like I always stress that also with you and your brother.
Yeah.
Your character is everything.
Yep.
The way you present yourself, your reputation, it's very important. So the minute I met your father, Gary, I knew that he was the man that I wanted to marry. I loved his family. He had the most wonderful parents. His mother every Sunday would make a big dinner, and we would just sit around and talk, and I just felt so comfortable at his family's house, and I knew I wanted to be part of that family.
Interesting. I love it. What was, when you met him, like the first time you met him, what was he like? Like what it was like, what were you attracted to when you saw him?
Well, he was hot. And he is hot. He is hot. But I do recall a particular speech class we were in at Buff State where he had to get up there and do a speech.
Yeah.
And he...
I can't wait to hear this.
He was very built.
Okay.
So I have no idea what the speech was about.
He was jacked.
He was jacked. But I just remember looking at him going, damn, he's hot. But again, that was the initial view of him. But when I got to know him, I realized that he was a man of character.
Yeah.
And to this day, when we go to reunions, somebody will always come over to him and say, I just want you to know I remember you always sat with me at the lunch table and nobody else would.
Wow.
He's that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. What a guy. Wow. Good for you, Mom. Where was your first date?
Niagara Falls.
What did he do? What was it like?
We went on a date. We went on a double date to Niagara Falls, and we just went to see the falls and walk around the park, and that was our first kiss.
I love the story when at some point, you tried to break up with him.
Oh, I did.
And he was just like, "No, it's not going to happen.
There were
we're going to
times
figure
when
this
you
out.
dated
You're not
somebody,
breaking up." Yeah.
And he was just annoying me, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm over this.
Yeah.
I'm over this. It was New Year's Eve.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We were on the dance floor.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think this is going to work. And I said, I think it's time we, ended this. And he said, no, we're not ending it. And I went, what do you mean? No one's ever said no. And he said, no, we're not. We're too good together. We're gonna make this work. And I thought, well, he's fighting for it. Let's see what happens.
Well, I'm glad he said no.
Yeah, right.
Here we are. I want to quickly go back to the divorce of your parents, because one thing I think that's really important is that you maintained great relationships with them in your adulthood and still to this day with your mother. Any bit of advice for anyone that has parents that are divorced and is attempting or working to continue to maintain a strong relationship with them, even though they had experienced or seen some trauma within the actual marriage of mom or dad, or maybe there's some feelings of tension or frustration? Someone that has gone through a divorce, how do you still maintain a relationship with each of them individually, or what advice do you have for those people?
I have the advice of take each one individually, do what you can to nurture the relationship with that particular person. Don't bring the other person into the conversation as much as you can.
Yeah.
Realize that they are coming through with guilt, frustration, anger for the other person.
Sure.
And you have to take a step back and realize it's not personal. And you are entitled to your own relationship with each parent.
Yeah.
You're entitled to nurture that and grow that and keep that going.
Yeah. I like that. And I think it's kind of what I'm hearing too is like boundaries. It's like your relationship with that parent is your relationship with that parent.
That's right.
And there's a boundary that the other toxicity doesn't have to enter into your relationship
Correct.
with that human. I like that. I think that's healthy. I think that's great advice. A big question I got from the listeners of Trading Secrets is your secrets to being married 40 years. That is the exception. You are an outlier. What are some trading secrets you have for being married for 40 years?
I think marriage is a give and take. There's a lot of times you take. There's other times you have to give. And there was a song back in the 90s from Mary Chapin Carpenter that said, sometimes you're the windshield and sometimes you're the bug. Sometimes you're the Louisville slugger. Yeah. Sometimes you're the ball. Marriage is give and take. It's not all easy. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. You have to work hard at it. And again, going back to why I picked Gary Tartick.
Yeah.
Because he had so much character and so much fortitude and such a hardworking person and such a great husband and father. He always put his family first. And so those days when you feel like you just want to walk out that door, there's something that always brings you back. It's they will drive you crazy. I mean, your partner will drive you crazy.
Yeah.
But you have to know and dig deep that you'll get through it.
Yeah.
That there's highs and there's lows, and that's every relationship.
Yeah. you've seen a lot. I mean, you're very social, so you have a lot of friends. So you've seen a lot of relationships blossom and work out. You've seen a lot of divorces. You've seen infidelity. You've seen literally A to Z when it comes to relationships. Do you believe or do you subscribe to the concept that the perfect relationship can exist?
No, there's no such thing as a perfect relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your relationship and what you choose to do with it. But there's no such thing as perfect. I mean, it's just hard work. And I do have to say, in all the decades and all the friends we have, there's very few that have been divorced. I would say...
Of your friends,
of our friends.
Yeah.
I would say 95% of them are still together. They were high school sweethearts, college sweethearts, met just when they started working, and they're still together. We were with friends last weekend that were celebrating their 50th anniversary, their 35th anniversary, and we were at 40.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're an anomaly, but we don't have a lot of friends that have been divorced.
I like what Billy said this weekend when he talked about perfection relationships. I think he said something on the long lines of people that believe in perfection in relationships really are just telling you that they have a low tolerance for humans because it's just impossible.
It's just impossible.
So your tolerance for individuals are so low that you can see something you don't like, you exit those relationships, and it's really just that your tolerance for anything that is the reality of growth and being a human and coming from different places with different lenses is just extremely low.
Some people just don't want to work at a relationship.
Yeah.
They feel that when it gets tough, okay, I'm checking out. That's it, I'm going.
Yeah.
And that's when I do appreciate the fact that Dad said, no, we're not breaking up.
Yeah.
Now, if I really wanted to break up, I would have broke up. But I loved the fact that he said, we have so much going for us.
Yeah.
We could get through this.
I like it.
And it's hard work.
A determined man, that Gary
There
Tartick.
you go.
You mentioned the word work. Let's get into work. I always remember you as, like, as far as I can go back, you're always someone that's had a career. I don't remember you ever not working. If you look back at your life, and still to this day, you work full time. If you go back in time, is there anything you would have done different as far as your career?
I chose at that time because I didn't have the opportunity to have my mother home. She had to work. She was a single woman. She had to work full time. I just chose that I was going to have a flexible career. And so I wanted to be able to have the flexibility to work and to go to the school activities and go to your soccer game and go to Stephen's choir recital.
Sure.
And so I wouldn't change anything. I know I could have achieved probably more than I have, but I'm very comfortable with what I did because it gave me the opportunity to never miss anything with regards to you and your brother's activities.
Yeah, and both you and Dad never missed. You never missed anything. You never missed a birthday.
That was important to me.
You never missed a holiday, a Christmas celebration, a game, a sporting event,
that was
anything.
Important to
you
me.
Missed nothing. You were always there. I can't think of one moment in my childhood that you guys weren't there when I needed you to be there or celebrating something or something that was impactful.
Yeah.
So I agree. I do have a question for you, though. We talked about the perfection of relationships and how it doesn't exist. What about the perfect parent? Like, do you think it's possible? Can you give 100% to your career and 100% to your partner and 100% to your kid? And how in a world like today do you suggest someone like myself or anyone out there manages all these expectations of being the best worker, excelling in your career, making the most money, the best partner, the best father, the best everything? Can you do it? Is it possible to give 100% in everything?
No, you're setting yourself up for a nervous breakdown. I mean,
Which I've had.
Being Superwoman,
Yeah.
which we all tried desperately to do.
Yeah.
We tried to give 100% to our children and give 100% to our career, give 100% to our part. You can't do it.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
And there are times when you're giving maybe 50%, to your children, and maybe 50% to your partner. You can only do so much in a day, and take time for yourself. That's important. Remember, you always have to put the oxygen on yourself first before you assist your child or your partner.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Great advice. It's great advice. Take care of yourself. And when you take care of yourself, you'll be able to take
Do your
care
best
around the people that are around you that you
Give
love and care
yourself
for.
some grace.
Okay. Let's talk about motherhood a little bit more. Stephen was just on the podcast. That was episode 199. A lot of people saw we have polar opposite lifestyles, interests. A to
Polar.
Z or different. I
Right.
mean, it's that was kind of our household. You had actually a conservative Catholic husband who has majority of his heritage tied to Lebanon, and you're Jewish, liberal, and Israel and Lebanon are in a war right now, and a straight son and a gay son. So let's first go into advice on parenting two siblings that have polar opposite lifestyles and interests.
I think it's really important as a parent to find your child's passion and help support that and encourage that. Stephen, you were easy. You were into sports and soccer and hockey. You would get up in the morning and put your little bike helmet on, half cocked, and run out the door and want to play, and you were outside all day, and you were always happy, and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And Stephen, I think, was more of an introvert.
Yep.
He loved playing his games inside, and he had a longer time trying to figure out exactly what his passion was.
Yeah.
And he loved magic, and so we definitely encouraged him to go to magic camps, and every week we went to the magic shop, and they had lessons, and he had mentors there that helped him, with all his tricks.
Yeah.
And then when he got into high school, he started the theater group, and one day I decided that I was going to take him to New York to let him experience true Broadway theater. And when he got home from school, I said, pack your bag, we're going to New York. So we got to New York, he got out of the cab, and I still get a little, teary-eyed about it because he just lit up.
Yeah.
He knew immediately that he needed to be there.
Was that the first time you saw him light up like that?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Was there anything from the podcast that I did with him last week when he talks about his childhood or his high school experience that you were surprised by or didn't know?
Well, I knew he was always very confident of who he was.
Yeah.
And he always portrayed a very confident, he knew his self-worth. He knew what he wanted. He knew what he didn't want. He took no prisoners.
Yeah.
It was you who had to accept him for who he was. And so because of that.
What do you mean by that?
I've seen so many people. He had a friend that came home with him one time when he was in college. And he had told me that he had nowhere to go anymore. That when he came out to his family packed his suitcase and put it at the door and said, "You're no longer part of this family."
Wow.
There were times when we went to Fire Island, which we do every year, and we've been on the dock. We were watching the fireworks, and this man came over to me and said, "Are you here? Are you here with your son?" I said, "Yes." He said, "My mother would never come to Fire Island."
Wow.
Again, you accept your children for who they are.
Yeah.
You show them that you are there to support them, that they deserve the love that they want.
Yeah.
And it's important that we all accept people for who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. I never felt like I had to accept him. I felt like I always accepted him. I felt like I had to accept the reality of the world that we were living in.
100%.
And the reality, so I had to accept the people around him, or not even accept it, but just see it. And that is a cruel world, right?
Is
That's
a cruel
world
world.
of hate.
It was 2002.
It was disgust.
Different than it is now, and hopefully it will not change.
Yeah.
But it was 2002. There was no gay marriage. So when he told me he was gay, my initial feeling was sadness for him, because I thought he would have a difficult time in his life, being discriminated, never being able to marry or have a family.
Yeah.
And I was sad for him. It was me who had to change my thinking.
Yeah.
It was me who realized there's no sadness. There's only happiness, because he's finding his happiness.
Right.
And he found the best person for him.
Yep.
Billy is such a good partner. We say it all the time. It's the best couple we know.
Yep, for sure. Very healthy, very happy.
Yes.
Perfectly said. It was a beautiful family to be a part of.
Oh.
Let me ask you this, though. Even at dinner last night, let's get into politics real quick. We don't talk politics on the show. I don't really want to get into the specifics of politics. We don't do it. But yesterday, my dad was about to say, I'm going to say something controversial, and I cut him off. I go, nope, you're not. Actually, you're not. And he's like, no, I got to say it. I go, you're not going to say it. And he didn't say it. And the conversation carried on. And it was a great dinner. So what advice do you have for people out there that live in such a polarizing world? That holiday season is coming up, and there are so many different opinions on the stance of politics. You clearly had to be able to not agree, but at sometimes hear your partner, or live in a household where there's all different opinions. What advice do you have for people that need to be able to hear even though when they don't agree?
Well, it goes back to boundaries. You have to know your boundaries. And that has to be established right off the bat. Sometimes it's best not to talk about it, politics at all. Just keep it out of the conversation 100%.
Yeah.
There's other times you can have discussions about specific minute topics that you might find your common ground on. And that has been easier this time around than in years past. We've always agreed on social issues. So that was never a problem or anything. I think it's important that you have your own opinion, and you have to respect somebody else's opinion.
Okay. All right. Perfectly said again from Dale Tartick. A couple more questions as a mother, then I want to get into some of my childhood, and we will get into the reality TV talk. But what do you think your most difficult time as a mother was? And is there anything you would have done different during that time?
I have to say, and I'm not just saying this, I have been extremely blessed with two fabulous kids. I didn't have any difficult times. I didn't.
Come on.
I did not have any difficult times with you or your brother. There were no challenging times. You both were great kids. You didn't get in trouble. You followed your passions. You were respectful to people. You were kind to people. I just didn't have any issues with either of you. And you've always been really respectful of others. So no, I really didn't have any issues.
What about, okay, so we were good kids, and we, didn't hope, obviously it sounds like we didn't cause too many challenges in your life, but were there ever times as a mother, even when we were being good or behaving or doing the right thing, that you were like, this was just a tough time period for me?
I think when I see my children sad, if they're going through heartbreak, if they're going through a challenging time at work, if they're trying to make difficult decisions, obviously it's going to affect a parent. And so when you're hurt, I'm hurt. When you're struggling, I wanna lift you up. I wanna help. I wanna be the parachute. I wanna make sure everything's okay. And so I think the most difficult thing for a parent is when their child is struggling.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think that's well said, and that's obviously the way you've parented, is always having the best interest of Stephen and I at heart. And as a result of that, that connects to maybe your hardest times, was seeing when our best interests weren't in the best place.
And I think it's hard as a parent because you have your own opinion of what I think you should do.
Yeah.
and you're going to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But I want to be there to be a different perspective that you might not have thought of.
Sure.
And, I want to help you and your brother through any challenging times you might have.
So that's a good point, especially if you look at like the Gen Zs. They're very independent and stubborn to a certain perspective. So am I in many times in my life, and we're going to do what we want to do, how we want to do, but we'll still listen. When you see red flags in, let's just say, in relationships or in work or previously, like when I was growing up, whether it was high school, college, after college, that you see it in someone I'm dating or in a place I'm working or decisions I'm making, how do you handle that?
I think because we have such a good relationship, as well with Steven, I could say to you, Jay, I see a red flag. Jay, I need to give you my honest opinion. You could do with it what you want, but you need to know I'm not your friend. I'm your parent, and I have your best interest at heart all the time. And you need to know this. And I've done that with you many times. You could do with it what you want. But maybe you're not seeing a red flag because you're so heavily involved into something.
Sure.
That I just want to be a moral compass for you.
Yeah. I also historically know that whether it's job or people or friends or exes, I historically will protect those people and shield them.
Fiercely protective
I will shield
of
them
someone you
sometimes
love.
You don't see those red flags.
Well, I know you cover red flags.
I cover red flags.
I know that.
Yeah.
But you think you're covering something that I haven't seen, but I've seen it.
Yeah. There's the mother speaking. All right, let's go back to high school Jason real quick. As a child, how would people were asking, like, how would you describe me as a child?
Happy. You were happy. You're always singing in the shower. You just wanted to be with your friends. You just wanted to play. You were very active. You are exactly who you are publicly.
What is my worst and best habit, would you say?
I would say your worst habit is you give somebody multiple chances.
Loyal to a fault.
Loyal to a fault.
I would agree with that. What's my best habit?
You have the biggest heart.
Sweet.
You are kind. You are respectful of people. You treat people the way you want to be treated. And because of that, you are loyal. But there are times I think you might be loyal to a fault.
I agree with that. All right. Is there anything you wish, especially when it comes to parenting me, let's call it before reality TV world, is there anything you wish you would have worried less about?
No.
None. Nothing.
No. But
Okay.
I know what I could worry more about.
What can you
I
worry
was just
more
in the car
about?
with you. You're driving.
I think I should have been an F1 driver in another lifetime. Let's talk a little money here. So, relationship with money. Just I'll give a shout out to you and mom, you and dad. Always generous, but always held us accountable. I think that it's just a good dynamic. You always made sure, whether you had money at the time or you didn't have money at the time, that you prioritized the spending for the things that mattered and pulled back where it didn't. I feel like in general, you taught us to have a great relationship with money as it connects to value, right? Money serves a purpose. It should not be abused. It should be not overspent. It should not be minimized. Know when to spend, how to spend, but value it. How would you characterize your relationship with money?
We've been saving since we were 25.
Yeah.
We had our 401k going and tried to max it out every year. We both, at your age, had very little money, but we never wanted for more than just being together with our friends. We'd get some pizzas, we'd be sitting in the backyard, and those were happy times.
Yeah.
It's like we never were looking for more than what we had at the time.
Yeah.
As we have grown in our careers, we have saved more and more. I always kid around that Dad still has his communion money because he is such a saver.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd say to him, let's, you know, relax a little. We could do this. We could go here. We could do there. And he's like, I just want to make sure we have enough money. And now, all these years later, we're ready to go.
You guys are kicking it and killing it. I will say you never connected money to happiness. You never connected material items to success. You never connected to acquiring something means that you're successful. Whether we have some of the luxuries that we have today that we maybe didn't when we were a child, and you're doing whatever however you're spending then versus vacations versus now. It was never the amount you spend is connected to the happiness.
Stuff. Yeah, we don't.
The happiness that you get with that, which I think is super, super important. What is your, so as a parent though, like you guys are you've saved a shit ton of money. You've done very well. You're still in your mid-60s working full time. Like when you think about money, like what are you working towards to retire till you're 120?
No,
like are you working to pass stuff on? Are you working to never have to be a financial burden? Like what's the thought? Like why are you guys still working full speed doing what you're doing?
Well, we both work in Charlotte. We don't. Our kids are not in Charlotte.
Yeah.
We still want to be productive. We're getting to that point. We're certainly making decisions about our retirement. And when we retire, we have plans. I want to volunteer for LGBTQ organizations. I want to help dog rescues. Dad will probably be on the pickleball circuit. I never want to be a financial burden to my children, obviously, and nor will we ever.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure we were completely independent, and we will be able to take care of ourselves when we need to.
Yeah, well, we'll take care of you should you ever need it. Don't you worry. All right, let's transition to the big change in my life. I was a banker by trade, moving all over the country, rising up the corporate ladder, got my MBA in accounting and finance, had that senior title, the VP, doing well at 29. I call you and say, I'm going on The Bachelorette. What are you thinking?
Well, first of all, let me backpedal
Good time
a little.
to refill here.
In 2000...
Might want to take a sip before you go into this one, Dale Tartick. This is a champagne break brought to you by Trading Secrets, Caluch style. Okay, Bachelorette, talk to me. I call you.
Okay, first of all, I'm going to backpedal to 2002 when I started watching the show. I was a super fan.
I remember you watching Trista and Ryan. I watched that season with you.
I watched every season from day one. Shout out to Bob Guinea, my favorite bachelor, and Trista, the queen bee.
We love you, Bob. We love you, Trista.
Loved the show. I was involved in bachelor pools, like our football pool, bachelor pools. We were on the phone, my friends and I, talking about The Bachelor. So when you called me out of the blue and said, you're never going to believe this, a producer just called me to try out for The Bachelor, I said to you, oh, no, you're not. That's my show.
I remember that.
You're not going on that show.
Yeah.
I do not want to see my son on that show.
Okay.
And you said, I'm going to do this. And I thought to myself, okay, you just keep applying. There's thousands of people applying.
So you thought I won't get in?
No way.
How come? How come you didn't think I'd get in?
Because there were thousands of people that were applying.
Just the law of
and
numbers?
I don't think you were even taking it seriously.
No, I wasn't.
You were going through the motions.
Oh, yeah.
You really didn't know much about the show.
No.
And you thought, well, let me just go for it. You know, let me try it. Let me see. I'm single. I have nothing to lose. I'll try. And I thought to myself, okay, you have to go through the 25-page application. You have to go through interviews and FBI evaluations and psychological evaluations and all this. And I thought maybe you would not be interested in going through it once You were done.
I remember I almost didn't hit submit because I had to do a video, and everyone does these like big videos, and I just literally, I didn't have, I was in Seattle. I put my computer on and I was like, hey, this is who I am, 60 seconds, boom, 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 boom. But I end up getting on. Then I tell you I'm going to get on, and then what'd you think?
I thought, oh boy.
You did not want me to go on.
No. I did not.
Why didn't you want me to go on?
I knew that your father would really not be happy that you were on that show.
Why?
Remember?
What? Remember what?
Well, I used to watch the show. He would walk in 5 minutes and say, I don't know how you're watching this, and walk out.
Well, now he watches it religiously with you.
Yeah, now he knows everything. Now he's following everybody on Instagram.
Now he's calling me, hey, you're managing this guy or girl? What are they like? This person's going to make it. This person's not. Now he's like my little, he's like a little recruiter out there.
But you did go on it, and... When
I left, you were like, I told you I'm going to leave my job to go film for 3 months, and you're like, hell no.
Hell no. You finally, you were on the fast track.
Yep.
With KeyBank, you were a VP. You just moved to Seattle, and you're going to leave your job.
Yeah.
And take a leave of absence to go on a dating show.
Yeah.
Right? One of 25 guys. What are you thinking?
So then I do it. And I'm gone.
You're gone.
You have no connection to me. What are you thinking? You're like, I'll be back in a couple days.
I'm dying.
But did you think I was going to go far?
Yes, I figured 3 days I'd be getting a call. 2 days I'd be getting a call.
You didn't think I'd make it far?
I just figured, no. I just figured you would, no. I didn't think you would. But I gave you a lot of advice before you went on the show.
You did give me a lot of advice.
I said, don't drink a lot because in the beginning days, guys would get so drunk they would jump in the pool.
I also remember you saying, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. And so I remember like when the breakup happened, all I kept saying in my head, don't cry, don't cry.
And you were crying and crying.
Not
and
really.
Crying.
It was like a little like dabble. I wasn't crying like that, really. But you told me not to go. I'm gone a week. I'm now gone 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I'm
then
now gone 3 weeks. What are you thinking?
I'm watching Reality Steve because at that time he was the only one who was giving some spoilers as to what was going on during filming. That was the only thing I knew. They took your phone away. You couldn't contact us. You had no openings to the outside world at all. I mean, it was a hostage situation.
And then all of a sudden, though, on week 6, you saw me in Richmond.
I saw you in Richmond. I saw some pictures of you in Richmond, so I knew you were okay. And then I got a call from one of the producers that said, hey, Dale, guess what? And I said, I know exactly what.
How'd you know?
Oh, no.
How'd you know?
Well, because I knew we were getting close to hometowns.
Okay.
So I figured
the
only
producer
reason.
Say to you?
Hi, Dale. Guess what? It's hometown week. And I said, oh, no. You're kidding. So you wanted to have the hometown in Buffalo. We were already moved from there. And so they found a house and we went into town. We all went into town. And I did a huddle with the family. And I said, we are vanilla. Think vanilla. Because
why?
I did not want any of us to say anything to create a new storyline and take away from your journey. It was your journey. I didn't want to be the mother creating all the havoc. I didn't want to talk about your past. I didn't want to talk about your faults, how I felt. All I wanted to do is get through the night, to be there to support you, and I wanted it to be your journey.
What was the concern, though? You didn't want to take away from my journey, or was your concern, I don't want to deal with the public scrutiny of what we could be?
I think it was all of it. Okay. I just didn't want any backlash for saying the wrong thing. I didn't want it to be about us.
Going into the hometown, before you see me, did you think there was any chance I was going to the end?
Yeah, I did.
Well, yeah. Based on what Reality Steve was saying?
No.
Yeah.
I knew with Reality Steve that Becca was more into Garrett.
Right.
And so I did feel he was going to be a part of her journey.
Yeah.
However, we were in the hometowns. You two walked in arm in arm. And I thought.
At any point, did the producers try and bring up past relationships or anything like that?
Absolutely, they did.
And
yes.
how'd you respond?
Oh, I responded strongly.
What'd you say?
I said, stop the camera. We are not talking about Jason's exes, period. And they said, okay. I did feel after talking with Becca, who was very lovely, that it was more of a friend zone.
Yeah, you thought like right away.
Yeah, when I talked to her.
And did you feel like you had the ability to tell me that?
Well, they mic'd us before
you
even walked in the door.
And the first time I see you guys is when you walk in and they're filming.
We didn't, we weren't able, I wasn't able to have any time with you. They made sure that we were separated constantly. You had somebody with you all at all times. I had somebody with me at all times, and we were mic'd. So there were people listening to our conversation.
Yeah.
But for some strange reason, for about 30 seconds, you and I were in the kitchen together.
I remember that.
Alone. And so I tap you because I don't want you to say anything, and I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah.
And I went like this to you, and I whispered in your ear, guard your heart. She's not that into you.
Unbelievable.
I think
I remember you saying guard your heart, but I think producers pulled me away before you said she wasn't that into you. I don't remember you saying that. I'm sure you did, but I think they jumped in because I remember we were talking for a second. Boom, split them up.
Separated us.
Split them up. Interesting. All right. Well, I get out of the show. I go right back to work. I'm working full speed. But then all of a sudden there's this whole influencing thing and, I'm making 10 grand here, 5 grand here, 15 grand on this post, 3 grand here. And I'm like starting to whisper like, hey, there's some money in this shit. Like, what did you think about that potential as a career?
Well, at that time, it was a new situation. Instagram influencing wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah.
You didn't go into this with the thinking that you were going to become an influencer. You knew nothing about it.
No.
So when you said to me, I'm thinking of going into this and becoming an influencer, I thought, are you out of your mind? You have a great job.
Yeah.
You have a great career path. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But we were old school. We followed the yellow brick road. We didn't take these opportunities, nor did we have them.
Yeah.
You have these opportunities.
Do you now, at what point did you start to say, oh shit, like this, whatever this thing is he's exploring is like, it's a career?
Well, I think when you started to find your own lane, when you started to go into avenues that you can use your experience.
Yeah.
From banking, from finance,
Yeah.
from money advice. And I knew you were not going to just go into that Bachelor Nation lane for your 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
You could actually take the experience you had and create, a new tool, and which you have done. I don't think people really realize how many businesses you have and how successful you have been at these businesses on your own.
Yeah.
And how they're growing. And you're creating a reputation that's excellent, and people want to work with you, and it's only growing.
Yeah. So what do you think about it now? Like, 10 years ago, I was banker, MBA, accounting, finance. Fast forward 10 years later, we have investment in a bunch of companies. We, I have a talent management company, a couple books, podcasts, do creating work on my own. Like, what's your sentiment? What do you think about that? People want to know, like, what does the mom of a person in this space who is very traditional to now this like new innovative way of earning income, what do you think about it?
I think you are fabulous.
What do you think of the career?
I can't believe what you have developed, grown.
Okay.
People don't realize how hard it is to do what you do. They see one story up and say, oh, it took them 30 seconds to put it up.
Yeah.
No, it didn't. There's a lot of editing involved in your podcast. I've seen you work at 7 in the morning and 1 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, you are extremely hardworking.
Yeah.
And so you have earned all this success.
Okay.
You deserve all this success, and we're Dad and I are both very proud of you.
Let me ask you this. You go from me in high school and college, and like you said, good kid, really never got in trouble. I never got detention. I never got suspension. I never got in trouble with the police. I don't, maybe one speeding ticket or two, max.
Yeah, you did crash my car, but we won't talk about it.
Yeah, I remember that. I hit a little tree. But that being said, you go into a world of, I was like, captains of the sports teams and voted most athletic my senior year, right? All the bullshit. And I say all that because I'm trying to set the scene for you didn't deal with much adversity of me as a child and in college when it comes to trouble. All of a sudden I go on reality TV and I had a good edit, but still I've dealt with public breakups. I've had, really negative things said about me. You then start to see blogs. You start to see people gang up. A majority of it has been pretty good sentiment, but there still are haters. There always will be. Like, what is it like for a mother to go from having a child in a suit and tie, being a banker, and things are great, go get them, Tiger, to like all of a sudden you got all these people saying all these things, or they're innuendos, or there's maybe false information, or there's just real opinions. How do you handle that?
I think it's been a very challenging time. I think it's very difficult to
choose your words correctly. She is just pulling. Let me get this perfect word and not fuck this up. Excuse my language.
No, I do think it's been a learning experience on my side.
Yeah.
In the beginning, when you went on the show,
Yeah.
The worst thing I heard about you was that your hair...
Too much hair gel?
Too much hair gel.
Grease ball,
you know.
Wannabe, I don't know.
You have an incredible following base.
Yeah.
They are extremely supportive. 95% of what's said about you, and believe me, I read everything.
Don't, please.
I read it all.
You should not read everything.
I read it all.
You really shouldn't.
I do.
Well, if you read it, though, you should understand that 90% of it is like, the negativity or the positivity, the good and the bad. Those aren't like, I don't know. Just be careful with that. Does that impact you when you read it all?
No.
Because if it throws you or impacts you, you shouldn't read it.
Very rarely does it impact me, because if it's negative, people don't know what they're saying.
The full story, right.
They don't know anything.
Yeah.
I believe that you've handled yourself incredibly well.
Mm-hmm.
You can say you carry yourself with dignity and class, and you respect people as you want to be respected. And you have choices in this world to ignore chatter. I feel like you have control of your own narrative. I think silence is power at times. I don't think you have to respond to everything that is said. And you've carried yourself in a very dignified way. And for that, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of how you handle everything you have to handle.
Thank you. Is it as a parent though, and I appreciate that, and it means a lot, but from a parent's perspective, I think what I'm also trying to do is give context to people that watch this show and then see someone on social and they kind of make they come at it, or they're making opinions. Like, what is it like to have a parent, from a parent's perspective, to see your child in this wild world? And what have you learned from it?
I think I've learned more from you. Okay? This has been a very challenging year for you. You have gone through a tornado and come through it into the sunshine because you did the work you needed to do to figure out your self-worth, to figure out what you want for your future, and how to handle all this. What's the word I'm looking for? All this crazy
tornado.
Well, I mean, all this crazy
noise.
Okay, that's a great word. The crazy noise that comes your way.
Yeah.
You have two options. Yeah. You could react quickly and go at it, or you could just stop
and respond.
And not respond.
But I'm just saying, like, there's the idea of reacting versus responding, right? And like reacting is your first, I hear something, boom, that's a reaction. Your ability to regulate and then respond is different than reacting.
And think before you speak.
Stop, drop, and roll.
Well, I say stop, pause, and think before you speak.
Okay.
Because I don't think you need to respond to chatter.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to say on this topic of social media and the child in the space?
I do feel that influencers might not come to their forefront that their families are dealing with a lot of the repercussion that's
true.
When their children go through it. So if somebody goes on and doesn't think before they speak, and you know, I was just seeing a lot of the Bachelor Nation. They will go on and they're trying to explain their situation, justify what they did, and then they, you know, don't think and they just want to explain away.
Yeah.
And texts are scrolling and private messages are being portrayed. And I think everybody doesn't realize what the family goes through as well, you know, when their child is out there in the public. Yeah. And I think it's difficult to navigate for the families sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's the only. I mean, at this point, these individuals are adults. These adults have enough information based on historically what can happen for the good or bad, and they have to make adult decisions. And I think the conversation to a lot of these people who go on reality TV and things that have happened recently is like, when you decide to make a comment, when you decide to do something for your own gain or for attention or to drum up a headline or to maybe it's even explain yourself, whatever it may be, your words carry a massive weight, and that weight not only impacts your credibility and reputation, but it connects in a dotted line to all the people that care and love about you and all the people that wear your last name.
And they're the ones who get the repercussions sometimes.
And the point is something that is said about you from someone else when it's not even your words can go to grandpa, can go to grandma, can go to aunts and uncles, and that has an impact on you.
And our coworkers.
And coworkers.
You know, we all have jobs.
You know,
and
your
boss. Yeah.
So there are a lot of repercussions of the decisions you make and how you make them.
And the decisions you make.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you know when to jump in? You see a lot of mothers and fathers and siblings, they jump in, they start chirping. You've always, refrained from that. How do you make the decision of when to get involved and when not to get involved?
I don't get involved because I know you've got a handle on everything.
Yeah.
I don't worry about you. I know you've got a handle on it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have to justify anything for you or speak for you because you take care of everything yourself.
Yeah. All right, that's fair. I do think,
I
truly
trust
believe
how
this.
you handle situations.
Yeah, I truly believe when you get off a reality show, I think every person needs to go through a very, very 101 basic class of just what you said. Like, hey, here's a little PR tip. Hey, here's a little this tip. Hey, here, and here are the repercussions. Do with what you want. You want to go out there and explain it and show all your texts and do all this stuff, go do it. But at least understand, because like there's a lot of ripple effect here. And you think about some of these people that go on reality shows and then they make bad decisions, and their careers and their finances and the impact it has on their families could be in jeopardy for a while.
Well, maybe that should be your next business.
There you go. Create a course on that.
Because you could definitely teach it.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts of just this area, this like for the good or bad of either creating, influencing, or being in the spotlight this is now 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. We're going on year 7.
I want to give a shout out to my closest of friends who have been there for me.
They're your therapists?
My therapist to get me through the most difficult times.
Yeah.
They are incredible people who just listen.
Yeah.
They listen and they're there for me. And you just have to have a support system.
Yep.
You have an incredible support system.
Correct.
You have friends and family that adore you. And like I said, followers, DM me, multiple people, how much they support you and they want you to be happy and they're there for you. I just can't tell you how many people who have been so kind to DM me, to DM Dad, to DM Steven, and give the support, that means a lot to us.
Yeah. Well, shout outs to the Evans, the David Artowins, the Hawk Jamesons, the Jackie Van Beeters, the Peggy Morts, and so on, that are always there on your side, my side, and you never can forget the people that were with you at your lowest points. And I think you're exactly right. Oh, and of course, Chris Colser. Mark Colser edits this podcast. He is our video editor and one of your best friends. Chris Colser, always watching everything, and of course Darcy. There's many more, but I do think the reality is to stay grounded in this space, which is constant mayhem, is you have to have good people. You have to have friends that tell you the reality of the truth when you're right and when you're wrong. They have to hold you accountable. You have to hold yourself accountable, and it's a crazy space. And there are times you see something and you read something and you want to grab a mic and go out and out of your mind, but you have to take a step back. You have to take a pause and just say, what's the bigger picture here?
So how
what
do
are we
you
doing
feel?
here? How do I feel about what?
How do you feel after the year you've had and where you were and where you are now?
I feel extremely light. I feel light. I feel bright. I feel happy. I feel so grateful. I have gone through dark places in the last couple of years. The darkest of places that I haven't even scratched the surface on publicly or on a podcast or even with some of my closest friends or you. And I, through those situations and learning in depth about how I got to where I was and will never be there again, I've learned so much. I've grown so much. I got a master class in life in the last 2 years. And I've already seen in 2024, present day, the way those lessons have allowed me to grow as an individual, has allowed me to grow as a businessman, has allowed me to grow as an entrepreneur, as a boyfriend, as a son, as a best friend. Like, I've learned so many lessons that people their whole life just go coasting by and they ignore their emotions and they ignore the hardships. They ignore when they're in situations of bad places. And as a result of ignoring it, they don't grow. And so I've grown so much in the last 2 years.
But you're grounded.
Yeah. The biggest challenge in all of it is differentiating children explain, adults inform, and when to protest and defend, and when to take the high road. That's the biggest challenge, one I've battled with. And there are certain things that I'll let go, and there are certain things I won't. And we'll
leave it at that.
What the future holds. No, but I'm happier than I've ever been. I'm lighter than I've ever been. I feel so much more connected to who I am because I can do who I want and be who I want and act how I want because the people that are around me love when I'm just me and doing my best version of me. And when those people are loving that, it brings out your happiest form of you.
Right.
And maybe your happiest form might be people out there being like, I don't like it. What is this silly, goofy Jay? What is this thing? But that's okay. They don't have to like it.
You be you.
If I'm going to be me and I feel like my most comfortable doing that and the safest to do it, I'm going to do it.
That's right.
Couple rapid fire questions, unless you have any last minute thoughts on the topic.
Was it.
Okay, good. All right. So we went into influencing, went into Bachelorette. Couple last things. We're going to wrap up here. What was it like meeting Andy Cohen?
Oh, my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love him.
Did your expectations exceed what you thought?
It was one of my bucket lists.
And
moments.
When you call him as your boy, he's not into you, right? Just want to make sure you know that.
Yes, I know that.
Okay, got it. All right. People are asking, they're saying you age like a fine wine. What kind of tips do you have for people out there in the anti-aging process? Because you look unbelievable.
Oh, you're so sweet.
What do you got?
You know what? I say time is the most important thing.
Okay.
Spend time with your family.
Yeah.
Find people that bring you joy.
And that's your anti-aging strategy?
Yeah, that is my anti-aging
And now I got her
strategy.
I have insomnia due to my mother. She sometimes doesn't like to admit that. She finally has admitted that and seen a doctor. And now you try trazodone and sleeping
I love
well.
my life.
Hey. Good things. What's the worst financial mistake you made?
When I was about 22 years old,
Yeah.
I got into debt about,
How?
I would say about $3,000, which was
Which
a lot
back
for
then's
me.
a lot. And credit
back
card debt?
then, yeah, credit
Doing
card
what?
debt. Just living.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford things that I bought.
How'd you pay it off?
When Dad and I got engaged, we said we are not going to get into debt. We are going to pay off everything, and we live to that. We live every single month. We pay off everything we owe.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I think what's cool about
we've
yours.
never had any debt.
Yeah.
After 22.
And what's cool
Except
about
for
your
mortgage.
story is financially, I think you guys it was tight back then.
Very
right? You got
tight.
married in 22.
Yeah.
It was tight.
Yeah,
it
we
was tight.
didn't have much money.
And look at you now. You're doing great. Okay, best financial move you've ever made.
Financial move I ever made.
Yep.
Really just listening to my father, taking his advice, and
As it relates to
as it
managing
relates
investments.
to managing
Yeah.
investments.
Yeah, and the financial stuff, that's everything I learned was from him or started.
Absolutely,
and vice versa. And what's
Yeah.
wild is he was, again, an oral surgeon that became your financial advisor.
And don't
Until the day he died. He was your financial advisor.
he was in bed dying, and he had this spiral notebook, and he's lying there. Dale, come over here. I want to talk to you. Buy Ford. That's what he said. Buy Ford. I said, why am I buying Ford, Dad? And he said, one day electric cars are going to be big. Well, then I saw a week ago that they were delaying the electric cars. I'm like, how's that Ford stock doing now?
But you still bought it.
I did.
I love it. Grandpa Lenny, we're still living your financial advice here in 2024.
But truthfully, you want to pay off your debt. You don't want debt.
Yep.
Debt costs so much. And pay your credit cards at the end of the month.
One more question. How have I changed since social media and reality TV?
That's the best part.
Yeah.
You haven't. You are exactly the person you were before,
Yep.
just maybe a little more depth.
Okay.
But you are grounded. You still have your same friends you had in high school and college, except you've grown.
Yeah.
You've grown. But I love the fact that you have 2 feet on the ground. You know, you haven't blown up your head. You know, your ego has not gotten in the way.
Yeah. All right. Last question I got for you. A lot of people submitted this question, so I'm going to ask it. You think about one memory of me that's a favorite memory or one of your favorites. What comes to mind?
Basically, just when I would walk in the room when
Yeah.
you were a baby.
Yeah.
And you would be standing up at the crib, always, every morning, with a big smile on your face. That's all, like, you've always been happy. You're always singing in the shower. You're always singing in the bathroom, whether it was 10, 20, or just now.
Yeah.
I heard you singing in the bathroom, and
Yeah.
I just had a chuckle because that's you. You're
Okay.
just happy.
And let's wrap up with a trading secret. It's one trading secret from you that the listeners can only get from your experience as all the things, right? You talk about your childhood, to being a mother, to doing everything you've done career-wise, to what's coming next. You tell me, Mom, Dale Tartick, Mama Caluch, what is a trading secret you could leave us with?
I would say that my biggest trading secret would be this.
hear it.
Everybody owns something that is extremely important and powerful, and that's your signature. When you are presented with a contract in front of you, whether it's from the doctor's office,
Yeah.
the car dealership, the bank, read it.
Yeah.
go very slowly, make that person behind the desk uncomfortable, and sit there and read it. Because you're going to find that they are taking away freedom from you for the benefit of them. Okay? Don't sign anything unless you feel 100% comfortable and you understand exactly what you're signing. Your signature is extremely powerful.
That is a great trading secret, and it connects to Haley Page. Oh, we got two. Haley Page will be coming on this podcast shortly. We can now say her name because she signed a contract when she was young that she didn't know, where she literally gave the rights away to her entire name. So her name was Haley Page. It then went to Cheval. She now has her name back. It's Haley Page. She'll be on the podcast to talk about the power of a signature. Sounds like you have one more trading secret.
Call your mother.
Call your mother. How often?
Well, that's up to you.
That's up to you.
I just say call your mother.
Everybody out there, don't text them. Don't write them. Pick up the phone. Call your mother.
Even if it's 5 minutes.
And if you live close to your mother, see your mother. Mom, usually this is the time where I ask my guests, where can they find everything you have going on? But I know that you are private on social media.
Private person.
And you don't accept all your friends that put in requests. But where can people find you if they want to?
Dale Gross. What is it? I don't even know.
I think you're Dale Tartick, a.k.a. Caluch or something?
Is that, yeah, a.k.a. Caluch.
Yeah, we'll put her Instagram handle in the podcast notes here. I'm sure she probably won't request or accept most of those requests. But
no,
hey,
that's not true.
Maybe if you have a question on her life, she'll answer. Mom, 200 episodes, tens of millions of downloads later. We're here. You did it. How do you feel?
I am proud of you. I love you to death. And you just keep going.
I love you too. Thank you for being here. You're the best mom. I am so fortunate and privileged in every way to call you my mother.
Thank you, my
love you to death.
Love you too.
Thank you for coming on.